everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. The topic, 5 things to do before every presentation. And as I reflect on my own recent presentations, my own recent workshops, and a workshop coming up on Friday, I do these very things myself. So I observe and I watch people, 5 things that people do that make them very successful, but I also like to practice these things myself. So Peter Dew's my name, public speaking trainer and coach, and my passion is teaching people like yourselves to be confident, effective, and influential in your public speaking so that you can get your message across to your teams, to your groups, and make the difference that you want to. Let's get started. So 5 things to do before every presentation. And there's lots of other things we can do, but these are 5 key things that I watch and observe other people do in my conversations with other professional speakers. These are the kinds of things that people do all the time. As we get underway, let me know if you have any questions, take notes, participate. I am recording this webinar. It's available for anyone who missed or maybe wants to review the content. And as I do, I think about what I could have done differently in the past. Not that I would have not that I can change anything, but it's a realization. And what can I do in the future? So I've got my presentation coming up in Port Hedland on Friday. What can I do to make sure things go well? And why is preparation so important? I think that people that are well prepared, it's the foundation of every presentation. And, you know, your engagement and your influence and your message all build on how well you're prepared. We've seen people that are fly-by-nighters, they just make some comments off the cuff, and often they don't hit the target. This is where preparation can really help you. And along with that, my view, Robert Schuller, spectacular performance is always preceded by spectacular preparation. I like this quote. It means that those people that seem to be successful, they're great every time they run a workshop, they always seem to get the promotion when they go to job interview. It doesn't mean that they've just walked in, that they're just naturally gifted. It probably means they've done spectacular preparation. So how do I prepare? First one is warm up my voice. If you speak to any newsreaders, any actors, people who perform on plays, they all have a routine they go through to get this very complex, very sophisticated combination of muscles and cartilages and nerves working to create voice. If you use the analogy of you're playing sport, or you're going for a run, or you're going to go to the gym, one of the first things we do is we warm up, we stretch, we go for a little jog before we go for a run or a sprint. I played squash last night. We did a few exercises and just hitting the ball to warm up the ball and warm up our muscles. Otherwise, you're going to strain a muscle. You're going to pull a muscle. Why wouldn't you warm up your voice? It is the instrument of communication that you use when public speaking, that you use in a workshop, that you use as a facilitator, as a trainer. Do some tongue twisters. She sells seashells by the seashore. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? You can do some humming, some singing, make some noises that get your vocal apparatus working. And do drink water. Hydrate before you go on stage and have water with you so that if you ever need to pause and take a drink just to refresh your mouth, you've got that water with you. If you have dry mouth, some people's mouths dry and the need to drink water becomes annoying, becomes distracting, and you need to go to the toilet, you can use a Tic Tac. So a little minty, a little oval shaped minty called a Tic Tac, and you just push it up between your teeth with your tongue. Just let it rest there. The Tic Tac and the mint freshens your breath, but also causes you to salivate and you start to produce saliva, which is great. Dry mouth is gone. And if the Tic Tac drops down, it will normally take, if left undisturbed, it'll normally take an hour to 2 hours to dissolve. And if it does drop down during the talking of your presentation, it doesn't matter. You just chew it or swallow it. Nobody knows that you've got a Tic Tac in your mouth. If you have a quiver in your voice and you get a little bit nervous and you know you've got a shake in your voice, avoid drinking milk or protein drinks. So this includes your cappuccinos and your soy lattes. They all have proteins that will coat your vocal apparatus, possibly exacerbating any quiver, any nervousness. Stick with the water. So this is preparation. Make sure you warm up your voice. And I've just made a phone call to my wife. I've done some exercises out in the dining room just to get ready prior to coming onto this webinar. What can you do to warm up your voice so that you're ready to speak? You've got the nerves under control. You've got a nice, moist, lubricated mouth and vocal apparatus. The second thing that I notice great speakers do, and part of the preparation, is arriving early. Now, for a virtual meeting like this, I arrive early. I'm on half an hour before. I'm testing all the equipment. I'm checking my internet speed, which isn't always that good. And I may have to tether to my mobile device, my phone, which is also my backup. So I like to set up the room. So I've just been on the phone to Port Hedland asking about the room setup. I like a U-shaped seating. I'm going to arrive early. I'm going to prepare some flip charts on the wall. I'm going to check that my videos and all my speakers run. I'm going to make sure that there's enough distance between me and the audience. I don't want them too close, but I don't want them too far back. I'll remove any tables or any lecterns between me and the audience. If I need to push that aside, I will. I'll check that my voice will carry to the back of the room. And if not, I will ask, is there a microphone that I can use? A small room tomorrow, so I know that it'll be okay. Big conference, I'll arrive early, and the audio visual person, the person controlling all the sound, the PowerPoint, the speakers, he'll do a mic test. And the earlier I am, 6 a.m., 6:30, he or she will be really happy that I've arrived and tested my voice, tested the microphone, so that everything is in order from their end. I like to arrive early to visualize the room. So I will walk up on the stage. Are there steps? Sometimes there's 3 or 4 steps up onto a raised stage. We've also seen people accidentally trip or stumble as they're going up a stage. And do I exit the same side, or is there steps on the other side? And in visualizing the empty room, I'm visualizing it full of people. So I go to the empty room and I visualize it full. I walk on the stage to get familiar. I move forward to emphasize a point, and I'll step back just to dilute something. How much depth do I have on this stage? I don't want to fall off the stage. All of this is about arriving early and becoming familiar with the room. Small workshops that I run myself, I am responsible for the air conditioning. I need to let people know where the toilets, the bathrooms are. I need to know where the emergency exit is. Should a fire alarm sound, I, as the trainer in that room with 12, 15, 20 people, am responsible for making sure everyone gets out safely. All of this you can cover by arriving early and getting familiar with the room. Do you arrive early, or you a last minute, 5 minute before start time person who arrives? I have seen people arrive in a conference and they're about to go on 5 minutes and they hand over their thumb drive to the audiovisual person. Oh, can you load my PowerPoint slides, please? And they go on stage and they wonder, first slide, please. And the audiovisual person's still trying to work something out because you haven't arrived early and had enough time to check that things are working smoothly. I always arrive early. The other thing is I stay late because people may have questions that they don't have confidence to ask, put their hand up during the presentation, or there's just not enough time to answer all the questions. And by me remaining back, whether it's, if I'm a morning speaker, I'll remain back at lunchtime. And if I'm an afternoon speaker, I'll remain back after the conference. And if anyone wants to talk to me, I'm there and available to answer those questions. So arriving early and staying back, I think, really honors your audience, makes you look good, allows me to relax, to do some visualization, to do some deep breathing, to do some yoga. What do you do to control your nerves before you get on stage? And as with point one, enables me to warm up my voice. Arrive early. In my mind, it is a no-brainer. Great speakers test their material. Do your preparation. What, especially with new material, how do you know it's what your audience wants? So I will test my material on a colleague, a friend, someone I know, my wife. If you're a Toastmasters, you can go to a Toastmasters club. And if you're scheduled to speak, you can use part of your content in the Toastmasters meeting or in the rostrum meeting, and you'll get feedback. You'll get feedback on how that content worked, whether it got the impact that you wanted. You can use a coach and a mentor, and they can advise you and help you fine tune your content. Even high paid speakers, these are the big conference speakers, will have a coach and a mentor. And when they're doing new material or developing some new content, they will run it by a coach or a mentor. Comedians do this all the time. They will test new material. They'll test, because what I think is a great idea, what I think is clever, what a comedian thinks is funny, may not be what the audience thinks funny. And of course, don't forget to record and play back the recording to yourself. Anyone can jump on Zoom for free for up to 40 minutes. Generally, that's enough for a conference, 40, 45 minutes. So practice the 30 minutes. You can also email that content, that file, to a colleague, to a mentor, to a coach. Here's a practice run of my presentation I've got on Friday in Port Hedland. What do you think? I've put in some new material at the 5-minute mark and the 15-minute mark. Do they resonate with you? Test your material. And if you don't want to use Zoom, you can always get your mobile phone. That's my stopwatch. You can always get your mobile phone, hand it over to a colleague, put it on a tripod, press play, and test your material, record it on your phone. Zoom is as easy as the phone. So do test your material. Even though you think it's great and you've done a lot of work researching and a lot of work typing at the word processor, doesn't mean it's going to work for that audience. And alongside of testing your material is when you do the workshops, when you do deliver, ask feedback from the people in the room, the audience, the conference organizer, the audience, someone who matters. How did I go? Specifically, what worked? What could I change? What could I do to make it even better? What's the key takeaway? Are you likely to use this information in your business, in your life moving forward? That is another way of testing your material, but you're now live. You're getting feedback from a real audience, and we can learn so much from that audience. Number 4, do a pre-presentation activity or a pre-presentation survey. And this can do 2 things. The survey can inform you, give you the information that you need to target or adapt or slightly focus your information. And the activity can prime or prepare your audience for what's coming. I like to do a pre-presentation survey when I'm doing a new sector, a new industry. What do you want from this presentation? What would be most valuable to you? And we just send out a Google form or a MailChimp survey, Chipmonkey survey, and we get some responses back. We get about 50 to 60%, and you'll see those common threads, and I can adapt and choose the stories, choose the data, choose the information that best matches those audiences' requirements. Those of you who attended last webinar will remember that sometimes the audience rocks up wanting this. This is their expectation, and the speaker delivers this information. And there's a mismatch of delivery and expectations. When you do a survey, a pre-workshop survey, it makes sure that your information targets and meets the needs of the people in the room. And the activity, have a look at this TED Talk. Here's a little video. I'd like you to do your DISC profile and come along with your predominant leadership style so that when we do this leadership workshop, you'll be aware how you communicate differently with other people in the room. What can you do to make your audience more prepared? Some sort of activity. What can you do, survey, questionnaire, research, that helps you better target and adapt your information, your knowledge for that audience? I work a lot with the health professionals, nurses, disability sector, and what information I share with them is different to another sector, which is the mining resource sector. And so different folks, different strokes. And the pre-presentation survey, pre-workshop survey can help you make sure you hit the mark. So send out that questionnaire. Send out a TED Talk, some other video, some other resource that people do before they come along. This will prime them. This will create anticipation expectations, start them to think in a particular way. It'll give them some background knowledge. Maybe you want to do some high level information and you don't want to spend first 15 minutes making sure everyone understands the basics, especially if it's a technical type issue. And by reading this journal article or reading this research before you come along, will prepare people so you can now go into the higher level information. Prepare for tricky questions. So this is when you're now in the question and answer section. So that's the end of my presentation. Are there any questions? And this is when a lot of presentations start to fall down. You've done a really good job, going really well. But Peter, what about this? Yeah, sure. Good question. Look, I don't really know. And my credibility is just disappearing off the radar. Just some things I like to do in terms of preparing for difficult questions. What questions do I not want to be asked? If I take a step back, part of your preparation is being clear of the message you're going to deliver. And if you're delivering bad news, so you're reducing funding, you're restructuring, you're changing the way we do things, you're implementing an extra step in a procedure, people are going to be a little bit worried, a little bit annoyed, a little bit concerned if you're defunding or this project's changing or we're merging two departments together. Put yourself, part of the preparation is put yourself in their footsteps. And what questions would you ask if you were affected by the change you're about to announce, by the message you're about to give? What question, if asked, will make you be really uncomfortable? What question do you not want to be asked? Prepare a question, an answer for those two questions. And what if you don't know the answer? Prepare an answer for that as well, which goes something like this. Thanks, Peter. That's a really good question. I don't want to mislead anyone, and I don't have that data at my fingertips. Let me find out, and I'll get back to everyone in the room within the next 2 to 3 hours. I'll get back to everyone by the close of business. It's called taking it on notice. Do your preparation. You've done your preparation around your content. Don't let your Q&A session, the discussion, lower the standard of your presentation. So in summary, preparation, warm up your voice as you would with almost any other activity. Playing squash, going for a jog, going to the gym, playing a game of sport, you'd warm up. Arrive early. Sort out all the problems, iron out the issues, make friends with the audio-visual person. Walk on the platform. Test your material against a test audience, a friend, a colleague, a coach, a family member. And you can put feedback in when you do the real presentation so you know how well it's targeted their needs. Do something before your presentation. A pre-workshop questionnaire, or send out a material to prime, some material to prime them, a TED talk, a resource to read. And now start to think about the question and answer session. Prepare for tricky questions. Prepare for unexpected questions. So as we wrap up, a couple of webinars coming up. Those of you who like these webinars, 6 ways to create psychological safety in your workshop. I don't know about you, but when I walk into a room as a participant and I see a room of 20 people, I'm a little bit apprehensive. I hope they don't ask me to do anything, silly. What if, I get embarrassed? What can you do as the presenter or the facilitator to make your participants feel psychologically safe? And nonverbal communication, these little babies, how do you make sure they're not distracting, flapping around? The good, the bad, the ugly of nonverbal communication. They're coming up in December, and that'll wrap it up for 2022 in terms of my webinar scheduling. Workshops, Thinking and Speaking Off the Cuff, 2nd of December, and also in Port Hedon on the 17th of February. I've got one in Port Hedon on Friday, but that's basically booked out. You know how to reach me. Peter Dew's my name, public speaking trainer and coach. And my question to you, what are you going to do to make sure you do exceptional, spectacular preparation? Spectacular performance is always preceded by spectacular preparation. Warm up your voice. Who's in the room? Do a pre-workshop survey. Arrive early. Get ready for those tough questions. My name's Peter Dew, public speaking trainer and coach.